Hi, welcome back to another edition of Sling Paint Gaming. I am Berto, and I am going to do a VASSAL tutorial. You guys are probably thinking, like, what the heck is VASSAL? So VASSAL, I'm going to take it right from the website here, and I'm going to show this. I'm going to switch over, and I'm going to show you how to install it. I'm going to show you how to put the X-Wing module on it so you can play some X-Wing. And then I'm also going to show you actually how to run through the X-Wing module and actually set up a game, play it, the whole 9 yards. The funny thing, though, is with VASSAL, up until this newest release that just came out, the hardest part, I would say, is actually building your list. What they just did in the 6.4 release for the X-Wing module actually just made it 10 times easier. I no longer have to build lists in VASSAL. I can actually build them in my favorite list builder, which I use yet another X-Wing miniature squad builder, and I'll put the links down below. And now what I can do is I can export that list right into VASSAL and import it, and then it comes pre-filled out with all the chits and all the ships and the dials and the templates and the upgrade cards and all that stuff. It just got 10 times easier. So we're gonna walk right through this. All right, there's a lot of stuff to cover, so I'm probably gonna go through this, but I'm gonna include some links from some help out areas too. So what is VASSAL? VASSAL is a game engine for building and playing online adaptations of board games and card games that we all love and play. Play live on the internet or by email, but I don't know if anybody does it by email anymore. But you can play live on the internet, and runs on all platforms. And it's open source, so it's free and it's open source. So the whole thing is like, it runs on Mac. Like I'm running on a Mac right now. It runs on PC, and actually I think it runs on also some other different platforms as well. But it's great that we can play on almost any platform, and you're not restricted to a PC or Mac, or just a PC instead of a Mac. I can play on anything. All right, so without further ado, I'm just gonna get right into this. So I'm gonna switch over my screen to my desktop. Let's see if we can switch over that. There we go. So this is the VASSAL website. It's vassalengine.org, and we're gonna put the links again in the comments below. But when you get here, now it detected that I'm already on a Mac OS. So right off the bat, you just download this. When you download this, then you install it just like you do any other thing. It's going to tell you to drag it into the applications folder. And again, that's for Mac. PC is a little bit different. I think there's an executable. But it's got all the information here. That's actually the easiest part. But then there's another part that you also have to download. So this is just the engine, the gaming engine. But now you need the X-Wing module. So also here on VASSAL is the module Star Wars X-Wing Miniatures game. Now, when you look at this, you're like, oh my God, there's so many files I have to download. No, you don't. Actually, the cool part about it is you just need this top one right here. You don't even need the universal map pack. You can use it if you want to, but nobody really downloads it or installs it or uses it. We just mostly use this. It comes with a bunch of the maps already, the Starfield, blank Starfield, and what have you. You just need to download this one here. Now, once you download this, put this in a safe spot, like somewhere in your computer here that you can get to it, and you're not going to accidentally delete it. So I created a VASSAL folder in my documents folder, and I just saved that downloaded file into that. So once I've downloaded it, right? Let me just get it. Once I downloaded it, all I got to do is run the VASSAL app. So for Macs, it's PC is gonna be different. You just find the executable wherever it's probably in your My Programs, but I'm just actually going to run my VASSAL. It's going to open up. Now, when you first set this up, this is going to be blank. This is all going to be blank. You're not going to have this. I've already installed it, but I didn't want you to wait while I'm installing it. But I'm going to show you how to install it. It's very easy. So once you have VASSAL open, that's the engine, right? That's the engine that makes these things run, and this is the module. So I want this module. So the first thing you do is, if everything's blank here, what you do is you hit, you can either open module or import module. I just hit open module. You go to your location where it is. Like I have a VASSAL folder somewhere here. There it is. I have my VASSAL folder. Here's all my lists and things that I used to do back in the day when I couldn't save my list. Now I don't need to. I'm not going to go into on how to build lists the old way, but I'll show you little points and pieces here and there. But I just see how I already saved it to here. I moved it to my downloads file. I click open, and then it's going to install all the module parts to the X-Wing Miniatures game. I mean, it's cake. It's really simple. That's it. All right, so once it's done, you'll see a thing that says tiles and all the images and all that stuff it's going to install. Next thing you do is actually double-click on it. Okay, I'm going to double-click on it. I'm going to get going on here. Now, when this installs here, the first thing it comes up with, it says welcome, select play mode. Now, the first time you probably install this, it's probably going to ask you, I think when you connect on the line, it says create a profile and this and that. Just do that and set that all up. I mean, it's cake. Just walk right through it. The hardest part is actually figuring out how to play, but once you figure it out, it's cake. All right, so there's a couple different things you can do here. Now, this is the wizard, right? So this is the wizard, so you don't have to show this at startup. You don't have to have this. I like doing this. But you can start a new game offline. You can look for a game online or load a save game. So just for what we're going to show, we're going to focus on these two top portions here. Now, back when you had to build a list yourself and pull all the ships in and all the dials and all the cards, you would do it offline. You don't have to worry about that anymore. But for argument's sake, I'm just going to show you. I'm going to stay offline for right now, and just show you what you got to do. So I'm just going to hit next. Now, this is important. Because if I'm going into a game offline, you're going to choose it. When you play online, you start a new game, it's going to ask you which player you are. This is very important, okay? Maybe for not right now, for just building the list and showing the list stuff, right? But for playing, when you're marked as player 1, guess what? You can only see your player 1. When you reveal your dials and you hide your dials, right? It's actually Control-R reveal. When you actually reveal your dials or unhide them, when you reveal them and they're hidden, only you can see them as player 1. Isn't that cool? Player 2, the same thing. I can't see player 2. I can see all his cards and stuff, but when he hides his dials, he can only see the dials, and I'll show you all that when we get into it. But that's why you have this. You can also do multiple players, too. You know what the cool part about this whole Vassal thing? I believe a lot of people also play the missions, so you can multiplayer missions on here, which all the missions and all the little icons and ships and dials and all that little debris and radars and all that stuff that's for missions are on here. And also you could potentially play some hot AC. So here's a Atari cluster. From what I'm hearing, I haven't done it on Vassal yet, but everybody's telling me you can. So an observer is, let's say if you're just observing, you want to go into a game room and just see what people are doing and what the match they're playing, you can come in as an observer and you can watch the game. You're not going to impact player 1. Now the cool part is if I select player 1, guess what? Nobody can select player 1. So once it's locked, it's locked. All right, so looking at this, I'm just going to choose player 1 for argument's sake for right now. I'm just going to hit next. Now this is, remember I told you about the map packs? Now I don't have the map packs installed, but look what I get here. I get a lot of stuff here. All right. And then you can play 3x6, 5x5, 3x3 standard. I always usually choose the 3x3 light field, right? And it's got some dead spots in there and stars, and I can hit finish. Now you get all these wonderful 14,000 screens that pop up. You're like, oh my God, what is all this stuff? Now here is the original Vassal module. We're just going to keep that to the side. I'm actually going to move that off to my little screen here. All right. And I'm also going to move this for right now, which is my web browser. I'm going to move that too. So you guys have a clean screen. You guys can see everything I'm doing here. So this is what comes up. You have these two things on the right. You have one thing on the right here that says miniature game controls. And this is going to be important. This is your chat room / your spawn piecer thing. And that's an official term. Basically, this allows you to become a player. It allows you to show your map, your pieces, and what have you. This screen right here is all of your pieces. This is if you had to build a list or if you have to find a debris field, an asteroid, or what have you. Everything is located on here. If you want to go into chits, basically tokens, asteroids, new asteroids, bombs, and it's got everything. And yes, it is almost, I would say 100% or 99.9999% the size and the references and the details to everything is almost exactly just like the game. It's very close to it, and it's even got the nubs, the whole 9 yards. And the cool part about it is the actual size reference. So when you go practice on Vassal and then you actually play the real thing, it's almost a 1-to-1. And you can use Vassal. I use Vassal a lot for my opening moves. Like I try to plan out opening moves and rock placement and all that stuff. Believe me, when we get to the board part, the map part, you're going to see what I'm talking about. This thing is crazy. You can test all your opening moves. It's great. All right, so but everything is in here. You got your rebel ships, and here's all, you just click on all the ships that you want, and you just keep on going to the right here, and it's got every single ship. And they usually have, when the new ships come out or get announced, guess what? They usually have them up here already ready to go. That's usually an update, a new module. But if you just download the module, install it, and guess what? All your other stuff is still saved. Your profile and everything is still there. So that's good. Everything's good. movement and range. Now you don't have to download, use these pieces, but it's all there too. So if you wanted to, again, practice, it's even got the huge, Rebel. It's got everything here. It's crazy. I mean, all the upgrade cards, torpedoes. Now, the one thing that you're gonna see here is it does not have any text, and I think that's how it kind of keeps it open source and what have you. I don't know all the rules to that. But you can just see here, just pretty much keeps everything open. But it's got every card in here. All the crew cards, you name it. It's even got the new condition cards, I believe, too, as well. Yep, there's the new condition cards. A Debt to Pay token, Fanatical Devotion. So it's got even all the new stuff. Tech upgrades, illicit, you name it. It's all everything here. And look, here's even the missions. So if I wanted to do mission 1 within the actual books and stuff, look, it's got the Senator Shuttle. And it's also got the Senator Shuttle dial. Now, how cool is that? And here's all the missions that it has. And it's got all the different things. That's the nice part about it. I mean, it's got everything. Gotta love it. All right, so I'm not going to show you how to build the list. I'm going to show you the new way of building a list. It's friggin' awesome. All right, so before we get into that, I just wanted to show you that screen. Now, you have all these other screens over here and these other buttons, okay? I'm going to get into that in a little, and some of these things, but I wanted to show you the map. The map's probably the most important part. That's why you play, right? So if I click on map, look what spawns up, okay? There's the map right here. And you're like, oh, okay, it's so small. Well, you get to make it bigger. You also have this blank area. This is like kind of like the sideboard area. What I always like to do is I first like to say, make this, fit the height. So it's top and bottom. And I usually drag this dead space area to right to the same, because you're always going to use, you move ships off, or if you move tokens or debris or whatever. I mean, you can use this as your dead area or your play area, or your off the board area. But now, you have this huge board in front of you. This is a 3x3 board. Now, you're like, well, that doesn't look like a 3x3 board. But guess what? Let me show you what a ship looks like on this thing. So I'm actually going to flip back here to a ship. And let's just grab the Millennium Falcon right here for right now. Look, all you got to do is click and drag. Boom, it's on there. Now, this is actually the same space. So now if I wanted to start the Millennium Falcon down on the bottom there it is. Now you're like, well, how do I know it's actually the same, the same size and everything? If you actually, it's dead accurate. You can also, these buttons up here on the map, all right, you got your view button, so you can make this bigger. If you want to take a picture of the map, you can take a picture and save it. And the cool part about it is, if you want to brag about something and say, hey, look what I did. I just off this guy and look at his setup, or whatever the case would be, or whatever, you can actually just take a picture of it. This is the magnify, so you can magnify, or I can make it smaller. All right, and again, I can choose, different percentages. All these other buttons are related to actually when you're playing here. This Imperial marker, Rebel marker, what have you, allows you to measure things from point to point and allows you to see what the closest point is from one ship to another ship to see if it goes over a rock or not. I'll show you how that works. Reset actions. This is probably one of the coolest features that they actually did here. Before, you would actually have to move tokens on and off the board here, which was a pain in the butt. You had to click and drag and move it off. Well, now you can just set the tokens right on the ship, which I'll show to you. And then when you're done with the turn, when you come to the end turn, you just hit reset actions. Boom, it's done. And it removes all the focus and all the evade tokens and what have you. But it keeps the target lock, it keeps the stress. So it knows which ones to move, which is nice. These buttons here, okay, when you're playing, we're playing on a 3x3 map, so only this button really applies, but this actually is the setup grid, okay? You're like, what is it? Okay, I toggle it off, on. That's nice, right? And look, this is the cool part about this chat area. Everything that's related to this, your opponent can see that you did this. So when you toggle it, it leaves a message in the chat area that your opponent sees, so you can't cheat. Isn't that cool? So you pull this off, right? It says you toggle the grid. If I see that when I'm playing the game, that means he's trying to measure something, which is illegal, right? So this is what anything with movement tempers or changing your dials, everything gets recorded on here, which I'll show you when you're playing the game. So it's very transparent on what you're doing to your opponent and vice versa. So making sure that you guys are being honest, keeping yourselves honest. But this is how you set up the board. So this right here, from this space, from the bottom space where the Millennium Falcon is right now to the top space here, right, that is one range ruler. And this is one range ruler to the side. And guess what? You want to set up your rocks and your debris. And actually, here, let's just do this. Let's go grab a rock and debris real fast. I'm going to grab some asteroids. I'm just going to click and drag. I'm going to grab that asteroid. I like that one. Well, let's grab some of the new asteroids. Boom. So when you're setting up your rocks and debris and stuff, you can put in your corner here, right? And you know that this is the 2 and 2 corner. And if you wanted to change your rock, right, you can actually change the different, you can rotate this. Now, I'm going to show you how to rotate this using the right click, but there are shortcuts. See how you have Control R right there as the rotate? All right. Right. You can rotate that however you want to rotate it. Or you can randomly rotate it where it just automatically moves by itself. Or you can actually click on it. And I think if I can move this here. Oh, what am I doing here? Not working. But you can actually maneuver these things all by your shortcuts. VASSAL is key and essential, or I mean, one of the biggest things you need to learn is your shortcuts. But when in doubt, right click, and then you can move it. So if I wanted to pick up this rock and move it around, guess what? My opponent sees that I move it around because it's going to be for him. It's all synchronized when you're actually playing there. Same thing, like now, okay, let's say if my opponent wants to place this rock. Well, he can go and actually do Control L, right? And again, the shortcuts is not on here, but rangefinder is Control L, right? That shows you where your range 1 is from that rock. So I can move this rock wherever I want to, maybe just right there. You know, that's perfect right there for right now. But look at that. I got a range 1 to that rock, and then I could just hit Control L again and it shuts off. And then not place this rock. And I might want to range ruler it again to see how far I am. And I can move it close to the side. But I know these white lines are 2 and 2. I know this outside lines is range 1. So when you're setting up your ships, now some people set up their ships top and bottom. Some people set up the ships left and right. You just got to make sure you disclose that when you're first playing the game with your opponent, which again we'll get into in a little bit later here. But this, I mean, once you set, I mean that's how simple it is. It's very very easy. I'm gonna hit Control L to remove this stuff. Whoop, I have to highlight the rock. Always make sure you highlight the item that you want to do. Hit Control L and it goes away. Now I can highlight all those items and also delete and remove them. Right. I'm also going to, let's say, delete the Millennium Falcon. But that's your basic map. Right. And when we show the maneuvers for the Millennium Falcon and all that stuff, and we go into maneuvers and how you drop bombs and all that other fun stuff, we'll go into that and actually how you, but everything, check it is on the right click. Just make sure you hit right click on whatever, make sure your item's selected and right click and everything's good to go. So what I wanted to show you was, I'm not going to show you the old way of setting up ships. I'm going to show you the new way because the new way is friggin' awesome. So one of the things, I'm going to bring back my browser over here so you guys can see this. Now on this browser, I use yet another X-Wing squad builder. There's one other squad builder list, I forget what it was off the top of my head, that actually they do use for the new import. But I like this one. This is the one I use, but it works just like the same. So let me show you what I'm going to do. So I'm going to load a squad here that I've already got because I'm always building my squads in here, right? Look, I mean, I got tons and tons and tons of lists. All right, so but I'm going to pull up the good old, where is it? The baby blues. Actually, you know what? I'm going to pull up my new bomber list here, okay? So let's load that up. So my 3 K-Wing Warden Squadron pilots with a whole bunch of bombs and all that stuff, even Sabine and Chopper and all that stuff. Now what I do in here is I click permalink. All right, make sure you always click that. Don't just immediately copy, otherwise you're copying nothing. Once I hit permalink, see all that little information right there? Guess what? That is used to build the list. It is the best. It's so cake. Ready? I'm going to hit it again. Just make sure. Copy that whole entire link. Then I'm going to go back to my Vassal. Let's move this off to the side here. All right. And it says right here, squad auto spawn from web. Watch this. I'm going to click it. There's all the different URLs you can use from all the different squad builders. Here's the one I use, yet another squad builder. And I'm actually just going to paste that link right in there. Look, it's even got my name and everything. Berto's Bombers, a whole 9 yards. Watch. Hit OK. Give it a sec. Boom. Look at that. Do you know how hard it was to set this up right here, this list? That was the hardest part about Vassal, was doing that, was setting it all up. Moving and playing the games, that's cake. But look, it even gives you the tokens. It even gives you the target locks. It gives you everything that you want to play and do. It even sets up your ships, right? And when you have the same number ship, it even numbers the ship for you and the corresponding dial. How awesome is that? You don't have to do anything. All right, so what I like to do is this. My ships, I'm going to put off to the side. All right. My tokens, and look, it even gives my tokens the correct. It gives me the extra munitions token. It even gives me the no shot when you do it after an advanced slam token. So I'm going to move these tokens off the board here. Now, what do you do with these cards? Well, you don't leave them on here, right? You don't leave them on the play area. No. That's where the cool part comes in. See these big old numbers up here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, guess what? Those are players, okay? So since I'm player 1, and I remember it asks you what player you want to be. Since I'm player 1, I click on player 1, right? And here is my play area, okay? Even got huge ship standard deck, and I'm going to show you how to spawn a damage deck. But let's say this is I'm getting ready to play a player. Now, let's say I'm actually going to make this a little bit smaller so when I copy this, because there's a lot of information, but watch this. I highlight, I click and drag, and I'm going to bring it right here. Boom. Done. Okay. My ships stay there. This is my player board. This is like kind of like the little play, you know, off the play area that you have that you keep in front of you. This is you're going to keep in front of you at all time. I usually keep this in behind the scenes. I usually use this when I'm spawning damage or what have you. So let's get into the spawning damage. Now, how do you spawn damage? Well, where's my damage deck? I don't see my damage deck. Well, guess what? See that little damage deck icon right here on the top right on that main control board? I click that. Which damage deck do I want to spawn? Do I want to spawn the original one? Do I want to spawn the Force Awakens? I even got the huge ships in here as well. Well, I want to spawn the second deck. So I'm going to spawn that. I just click it once. Look, it's spawned that, and it's also randomized. Now, you're like, well, it's face down. How does that all work? Well, when we're dealing damage, and I'll show you how we do that when we're dealing damage, but basically you just click the card off, and look. Oh, I click off. There's my 2 damages. And if I wanted to flip them, again, what I always say, right-click. Or you can hit Control-F. Now, this is just like the text on the cards, which is missing. The text on the damage deck is missing. All right? And it says Loose Stabilizer. Now, what I normally do is you don't actually flip the cards here, okay? You actually drag the cards onto the board here so your opponent can see them, especially the critical hits. The regular hits don't really make a difference. The critical hits is the one. But we'll show this more in depth when you're playing. But when you do that, now check this out. Watch this right-hand side. If I right-click and flip, it marks it right there on the play area that says Berto flipped a critical card damage sensor array. And if I wanted to zoom in, I can zoom in. Or I can just actually just hover over it and just keep my mouth on it, and it says damage sensor array. So, and then that's when you would actually look up. I'll share a link here too where the critical card readouts, or you can keep a list next to you. But there's a website that does that. And I'll put in a link down below. But you can actually go into here and say, okay, well, damage sensor array, what do I do there? I click that, and it gives you the text right here. And you can actually click the copy, and you can actually paste it into VASSAL's text area if you wanted to. I didn't copy it. But you can paste it here, or you can just pull up some kind of X-Wing, wiki or what have you, and you keep it so people know exactly what it is. But they do that because of copyright and all that fun stuff. But anyway, that's cake. That's how you do it. The cool part about this is, let me delete this. Control D. Oh, can't delete that because it's a damage deck. Or I can bring it back to my player 1 area. All right. Also, when you want to, when you're using your bombs and all that stuff, or your missiles, or extra munitions, or torpedoes, right? All you have to do is you can use a token that it gave you, or I flip like let's say I have seismic charges, right? And I have proximity mines. You can use the tokens and put them on there, right? It's up to you and how you want to do it. But let's say when it's truly spent, you can actually flip the card. Flip. Why is it not doing it? Of course it's not doing it. There we go. Hit Control F and it flips the card for you so you can say it's spent. And then that will take care of it for you. So that's, there's a whole bunch, like I said, it's got everything here. I like to actually make this smaller so I can see everything. But you can keep, which this is number 1, this is number 2, this is number 3. You can keep track of the damage cards. I usually like just to put it next to it. I just spawn, damage cards next to it. Now, for shields and hull, you don't need to actually use the shields and hull. Guess what? It's on the ships themselves. Okay? So when you have your ships here, and let's say you're getting them set up, I'm going to zoom in on here. Let's see here. Zoom in, zoom in, zoom in. Now, your dials, right, are right there. See all your ship stats? 2 pilot skill, 2 attack, 1 defense, 5 hull, 4 shield. Here's all your things. Here's the firing arc and all that stuff. Well, guess what? And here's all the ships that's labeled, so you can know which one. Okay, the first one's Sabine, so you know that's Sabine. When you're getting damage and stuff, it's the same thing. Now, look what opens up when you right-click on the ship itself. You have all of these different things that you can do, and it's a lot of different things. But guess what? Just over time and knowing the shortcuts, it's all the same thing. Like if I wanted to do an actual template, I can do a shift 1 forward. Look, that's a 1 forward, right? Or I can do a turn. Let's say if I wanted to do 1 left turn. I know the K-Wing doesn't have that, but you get the point. And I can also go up here and undo. See that undo button? Right? You have to hit it twice when it does turns because it does 2 actions when it does turns. It turns the ship and then it moves it. But look, see, I can just undo. And again, look, it keeps a record of what you're doing. It keeps a record that you performed a move, and it keeps a record of that if you back up or whatever the case would be. Everything is recorded here in the chat area. And you know why it does that? It, again, keeps people honest. Right? I mean, that's what it's all about. But these stats, you can also manipulate these stats. So a lot of people, instead of counting shields and stuff, they actually just manipulate the shields themselves right on the ship. And that's actually where you go to the set stats, right? Again, you can do this from right-click, or if you learn the shortcuts, again, you can actually, decrease the shields by hitting Alt-Control-S. And again, I think it's the same for both PC and Mac. So I'm going to hit Alt-Control-S and watch. See how my shields decrease? Now, if I hit Alt-S, or, yeah, I can speak. If I hit Alt-S, it increases. If I hit Control-Alt-S, it decreases. All right? So that's simple. You just click on a ship and you can do it. So let's say you're rolling a dice and you got 3 damage. Oh, I got 3 hits. Well, that's 3 shields. I'm just going to take it off. Boom, boom, boom. And then you can say marked in the thing. And then the next turn goes or wherever it goes in the thing. So that's how it's very, very simple. I mean, it looks like a lot, but it's everything that you normally do. It's just it's organized. Think about like your organization tray, right? For all your move maneuver templates and your little bin for your box for your tokens and stuff. This is just the same exact way, but just online. I mean, that's the basic sense of it. All right, so that's the basic of loading a list, getting it prepped. You put it on your player board, right? The other thing that you don't have in here is you need to pick. The one thing that does not spawn is your actual debris fields or your asteroids. So just like what I did before, I'm going to go back to my again, pieces menu. This is the pieces up here, which spawns this menu right here. And I choose what I want to run. Well, I like to run debris with my K-Wing. So I want to run that debris. I'm going to run that debris and this debris. All right, so these are my debris that I'm going to run. So that's the only thing that you need to put together. It's got everything else. You don't need to pick anything else. Everything's done. Now, how cool is that? I mean, it's simple. All right, and then basically your second player comes in. They spawn their list. So once you move all your ships to the side, they spawn their list. And the biggest thing when they say to the side, let me put this back to the regular height here. The side over here. You just put your ships to the side. Put your rocks to the side. And then they're going to spawn their list right here on the main area, and they're going to set it up and move it to player 2 just like you did. And then when you're ready to go, right, you pick which top or bottom or left or right, depending on how you guys are fighting, right? And then you go by just set up like you normally do. Okay, well, I'm all 2s here, so I'm probably going to go first. So I'm going to take all my 2s, and I'm going to place them down, right? Now, the same widths apply here. Again, and the same rules apply. You cannot have a measuring device going past, right, past the 1 range ruler mark. So using the one range ruler mark, what I like to do sometimes, especially if I'm flying in formations and stuff, if I really need some kind of measurement thing, I'll pull out my 2 straight, just drag it on the board, close my pieces menu, and come over here and line my ships up. Again, as long as I don't exceed past, right, I can line my ships up to how I want, do my other 2 on this side, line this ship up, and then now this is just like real life. When you're actually playing on a real board, when you line your ships up, now they're all set. And there's also like different things you can do. Like, okay, well, I want to turn my ship to the left or turn my ship to the right. Well, guess what? Right here, rotations. All right, you move your ship to the left or right, or I'm sorry, rotate your ship to the left or the right. So if I hit the arrow keys, look what happens. See that? So if I want to start my ship that way for whatever reason, you can. And I can put it back. All right, and if you hit the control key doing that, it nudges it a little bit. See how it moves it a little bit? Now, that is usually made for collisions. Now, this thing, the only thing that doesn't do, which if it does, this would be the awesomest thing in the world, is collision detection. So, but I'll show you that when you're actually colliding. But, I mean, other than that, that's it. That's how you set up your ships. And then you just do it in pilot skills. And basically, when you're going through chat and stuff, which I'll show you, right, the biggest thing that you're using the biggest word is set, all right? That lets your opponent know that you're set. You can say, I'm placing, and just be quick about it. I'm placing WSP1. All right, place WSP1. Or I'm going to place WSP1 through 3. PS2s, right? And that you got to keep it short and sweet. If you can Skype your opponent, that's probably the easiest. And then you don't have to use the chat area. But I've had matches on Vassal where I had people in different countries talking a different language and just using the basic set, ready, okay, marked. Look, the simple words on how you would normally when you play the game. I mean, it's very simple. Once you're done with this template, you can actually either move it off to the side if you want, or you can just delete it. It's up to you. But now my ships are in formation. So if I wanted to fly formation, I can. I can, everything applies here just like you would normally do in your templates when you're actually moving your ships in real life. It's the same maneuvers. What a lot of people get hung up on is they think it's the space difference is different. It's not. It's almost exactly the same. Just use your ship as the reference point, because when you begin your match, guess what? See that? It goes away. All right? So when you have your rocks placed, actually, let me flip that back on. So when you have your rocks placed, if you know where your rocks are, let's say if I did this 2 and 2, or just shy of 2 and 2, this one 2 and 2, and let's just do this for argument's sake so you guys can see. It looks pretty blank, but guess what? That's what you see on your regular board. But I know, because I play a lot, that if I do a 3-speed, I'm usually going to end up here. And again, you think about it, you look at it. Okay, 1, 2, 3. You count your ship spaces where you're going to be. Same thing for your turns and your bank turns. Well, if I bank my turn, I know my ship's going to be right here to the left. If I do a 1 left, I know my K-wings don't have it, but you get the point. So and the same thing for large base. All those space references, or one of the biggest things you have to learn with X-Wing to fly is it's the same exact. It's just now 2-dimensional instead of 3-dimensional. But use your ship base, know where your rocks were, and understand that, and you'll fly exactly the same way. It's no different. All right, so we talked about spawning your squad, setting it all up, playing it on here. So one of the things that I wanted to show you now is like, okay, now you're playing an actual match. Okay, so how does this all work? What do I do? How do I move and stuff? Well, let me do this. I'm going to spawn real fast here. Let me just put this to the side. Put that to the side. All right, I'm just going to spawn. I'm going to make copies of my K-Wings here, just for argument's sake. And that's the cool part. If I want to make copies, Control-C. And okay, well, where did it go? Watch, if you click and drag off them, voila. And I'm going to rotate these ships so they actually face me. They face the other direction here. All right, there we go. And again, your opponent sees all this. When they're set up, I'm going to flip the grid here, and we're going to do this. I'm going to put these rocks and debris here. I'm actually just going to copy these just for argument's sake. So we have the 6 debris. I'm going to place them random here and the whole 9 yards. Just try to randomize. All right. And let's say we're actually playing a match. Now, I'll show you how to connect online and all that stuff, but I just wanted to show you the basics of all the stuff, all right? So when you're setting up and playing online, think about it this way, all right? It's just like the maneuvers. Here's your dials, okay? But now you can see your dials. So you can see the maneuver here. It's just like having your dial face up on the board. Well, how do you hide it? All right, the first thing you do, how do you hide it, all right, is you actually, it says right here, all right, if you hit Control R, which is also the reveal. It's reveal and unreveal, okay? It goes either way. If I highlight all 3 of them and hit Control R, see that little symbol that just popped up, which is basically the ship icon? That means it's hidden, okay? Now, if I tried to change the ship dial while it's on the board, let's say I would say, oh, I'm set player, I'm set opponent, and I'm going to be fishy, and I'm going to try to change the ship dial. Look what happens. It says illegal action. Berto altered the course of the movement while it's on the table. So you can't change your dials while you're on the table because it's going to start showing that. So keep that in mind. So everything it's got to be off the table. So like, what do you mean off the table? Well, the first thing you do is you hide your dials. So you see that symbol, you hide your dials. You pull up your player panel. Okay, this is what I usually do. Pull up your player panel, highlight all 3 of them, drag them into a white area. Now you can manipulate your dials, and again, while they're hidden with that symbol there. So I can click each one, and I'm actually going to change this to, let's say I'm going to do a 3 straight. I'm going to do a 3 straight for all of them, just for argument's sake. All right. Now, I don't have to reveal them again because they're already still hidden. But you see how when I did it here, it didn't make that illegal action because that's where I'm allowed to do it. Once your dials, then you just drag your dials and put them back on the table. If I do that again here, that's the illegal action. So now, since these are all marked, that's WSP1, you don't have to keep them close to it. As long as they're somewhere on the board and they're marked to a corresponding ship, either by pilot name or like in this case, because I'm flying 3 of them the same, just 1, 2, and 3, whatever you want to do it. But when it's my turn to move, just like you normally do in the game, right? You go by pilot skill value, the lowest pilot skill value, and whoever is, depending on initiative, goes first, right? So let's say I won, I'm going first. Well, I'm going to reveal this. I'm only going to reveal one of them. So I can either click on it so it's highlighted and hit Control R, or right click and hit the reveal thing, or I just hit Control R and look, it revealed it, move the symbol. Now my opponent can see that, and it also shows on the thing here, it says Berto reveals a dial for WSP1 of forward of 3. So he knows that was the maneuver, and it keeps a log file of this. All right. So I'm going to highlight my first ship. Well, how do I move it 3 forward? Well, there's a couple different ways. Again, you can right click and go to template move and go to 3 forward, or right there where it says shift 3. So I'm going to do the shift 3. So I'm going to highlight and just hit shift 3. Boom, moves it up. And then what it says here on the log file, Berto performed the 3 forward. Very simple, right? It's pretty straightforward. Now, just for argument's sake, I'm going to reveal both of these at the same time. So I'm just going to hit Control R, reveals both of them, and says both of them. And I'm going to do both ships here. I'm going to hit Shift 3 to move all 3 of them at the same. Those 2 up, as a 3 forward. So, and if I wanted to advance slam, well, how do you do that? Well, for for the K-wings, or if I wanted to boost, well, you just basically, when you're typing in the game here, you just let your opponent know what you're doing. All right. Now, I should have been doing 1 ship at a time there. All right, so I'm going to back up here, those 2 ships. All right, I'm going to hide these back up again. So I'm just going to mark them hidden. But for this 1 ship, I do all my actions like you normally do. It's very simple. Watch. So I can do a focus. I can target lock, right? If I hover over my ship, there's only things. Or I can do a slam. I have advanced slams on these, so I can take another action after I do that. But in this case, just for argument's sake, I'm just going to show you. Now, there's a couple ways you can do this, okay? there's one, the good old-fashioned tokens. I can do my just token, just drag it next to it, and say, focus token. Or I can, let's say if I'm in range of target lock and I wanted a target lock, let's say my enemy ship's within range, I can check for target lock by a couple different ways. Control L allows me to check for target lock. Oh, yep, he's in my lock. So I'm going to grab the WSP target lock, WSP1, off the board here, and just put it next to the ship. That's the easiest way to do it for me. There are some other ways where you can actually right-click on the ship, right, and you can set the craft status where you can add a stress, add a crit, add an ion if you want to do that, or add some actions. This basically allows you to do some actions where it marks it on the ship here. So I'm going to show you where to go. Oh, I lost it. Action, there it is. So it says Shift A or Shift Z, right? Or then clear out. So I'm going to just do Shift A. So I'm going to do Shift A. See, it adds a focus, adds a barrel roll. Let me zoom in here on this for you. See the little icon that attaches to it? It cycles as an evade token, boost, said bomb, slam, or nothing. So you can do it that way if you wanted to. And if you wanted to add a target lock, you can we usually just grab the target lock that's matching and just assign it to the ship that's in target lock. But you can also where is it? You just do target lock Shift L, right? And it just lets you know that you use the target lock as your action there. And then you're saying that was the matching one because based of the ID. I mean, it's real simple. Just keep it real simple. So going back to this, let's say I didn't want a target lock. All right, let's undo this. So you just hit it again. I'm actually going to zoom back out to my height here so you can see everything. I'm going to drag this target lock off to the side here. So let's say I wanted to advance slam. Well, how do you do that? Well, you tell your opponent, I'm going to, and you can abbreviate ADV slam, and you basically declare the maneuver, okay? Just like a boost. You know how when you put a token, you say I'm going to barrel roll to the right, because if you're unable to barrel roll to the right, let's say you just missed a rock or the rock's in the way, whatever. Because if you want to pull it back up and say, well, I can't barrel roll to the right, so therefore I'm going to do a different action. You don't have to barrel roll to the left. I mean, that's how the rules work. So in this case, I'm going to say advanced slam, and I'm going to do advanced slam 3 bank left, right? So I'm going to say template move, and I'm showing the templates here, but use the shortcuts. That's make the game real fast for you. But it's left bank 3, it's control 3, and boom, it moved the ship. All right, and it even tells you that you perform the left bank. You don't have to usually wait for a reply as long as you're telling people what you're doing here. Or let's say if you're going to boost, you know what? I'm going to boost 1 left. All right, I'm going to boost 1 left. So again, same thing. Template move, 1 left bank. Boom. Now I'm on a debris here, but let's move this out of the way here so we can play here. All right, same thing. As long as you're typing what you're doing here, and because if you're not using Skype, you're just texting. That's it. That's all you got to do is just type in here what you're doing, right? And once you're done of your action, just say set. All right, and then the next person goes, and your opponent goes, and he does his stuff, and he'll say set, and then you go, and it goes just back and forth until all the things are done, and you're good to go. Okay, so that's maneuvering. Now barrel rolls the same thing. There's your barrel rolls. Well, barrel rolls left as forward possible, left as backwards possible, right as forward as possible, or right as backwards. Well, sometimes that might not work all the time. So that's where place mid barrel roll template, right? And then you can maneuver your ship however you want, close to it, or how you want to do it. It's up to you. If you don't want it to be all the way forward or all the way back, so you can figure out. Let's say if you have a rock in the way, you just want to move it just a little bit. So it gives you different options on what you want to do here. But just pick the ship. What are you going to do? Now let's say, I'm going to rotate the ship here. All right. Let's say you did a 1 forward and you're going to bump. Actually, let's do this. make it even harder. Let's say we did a one bank to the right. Right, so if I did one bank to the right, I'm going to do my template, do my maneuver, just like you would normally do. Oh, crap, I bumped into him. Well, guess what? You just hit the letter C, which is collision detection. It shows you your maneuver that you executed previously with the railroad tracks. How cool is that? Then you just do is you back up your ship, you click and drag it, right? And you rotate your ship, and you nudge it along. You try to get it exact as much as you can. I'm going to zoom in here just so you can see my nubs. All right, but see my nubs there? I try to get it as much as I can in. I'm going to do control left there, just to nudge. I have to highlight something. Just to nudge my ship a little bit. And I'm going to try to move it forward as much as I can. Maybe move it back just a hair. But that, you get the picture. But once you're set and it's in between the nubs, right, you ask your opponent, look good? And then he might move it or whatever the case may be. But then once you're done, you just hit that and you just delete it. And that's how your bump happens. It's cake. I think down the road they're probably going to add automatic collision detection, which would be killer. Because I think one of the biggest things, it's funny, like we play these games in real life and people don't care about bumps. Well, they do care about bumps, but you try to line up your ship. But in here, for some reason on Vassal, people spend hours lining up a ship after a bump. I don't understand, but just as long as it's close, I don't care. It's simple. Just keep it simple. Add the collision detector, see where you got to line up, and then ask them if it's good. If they want to move it, they'll move it. Who cares? It doesn't make a difference to me. But that's how you that's how you collision detection. Let's say you're done with your actions, you're done with your boosting, your slamming, or what have you. And before I get into that, actually, you can also do bombs. Like in K-Wings, I got bombs, right? Yeah, let's put some bombs on the board here. So, with bombs, where is it? Place the bomb spawner. You hit Control B, all right? It shows the bombs, right? And it shows you the different things that you can do here. All right, select bomb. You right click on that template and you select which one you want. Drop bomb token. I'm actually gonna do let's do cluster mines. Bammo. Look at that. It removes the template and puts the cluster mines down for you. You know how hard it is a pain in real life when you actually have a ship right there and you're dropping the cluster mines and you're trying to line them all up? Well, the cool part about it is, let's say if I was up here, watch this. This is pretty cool. I'm going to place the bomb spawner. Oh, I know he's getting lit up. Watch this. He's going to get lit up pretty bad. And I'm going to drop, let's say, a cluster mine again. Oh, crap. He got all three of them. But look how it puts it underneath him. So you know this one's detonated. You can delete it. And I'll show you how to roll a dice in a second. Here, detonated. And let's say he was a little off this way. And that one can just stay there. And that one will stay there until the end of the game or so until somebody else runs over it. All right? That's how cool that is. So the bomb spawner is even easy. It's just, and you can even also drop debris too. You can actually the thermal detonators and this and that and all that stuff. Debris basically is just like, let me go back to pieces. Jets. New debris. The cargo chute, the cargo net. You just grab it, drag it on the board, and this one you just line up to wherever I'm gonna line it up just a little bit here. But you just try to line it up as best as you can, and boom, and you just add it. That's cake, right? And once you understand the hotkeys and the shortcuts, right, it'll go so much easier. And I'll show you the shortcuts thing in a second, which you can keep up, which you print up next to you, and you can use all the shortcuts real easy. All right, so how do you attack? How do you roll dice? How do you, declare a target and all that fun stuff? Well, again, you're playing the game here. And I'm going to zoom out so you can see all of this. And let's say my K-Wing is going to attack this K-Wing. And let's just say it's going to use the primary weapon. Well, you tell your opponent. You can say W1. You can abbreviate. W1, 2, and I'm going to say this is W3, right? For his ship, W3. Right, and you declare the amount of dice you're rolling, right? Well, how do I know how many dice am I rolling? I don't know what range it's in. Well, guess what? Let me move this out of the way so you guys can see this. Move that out of the way, move that out of the way. All right, well, how do I know it's rain? Well, I highlight my ship. Well, this is a rotating firing arc, but I'm going to show you a regular firing arc if you want to see what's in your firing arc. All right, that's Control F. All right, Control F, or again, you can actually go through here, show firing arcs. You can show the target lock, which is a 360 degree or turret, or regular firing lock, Control L or Control F. Now I can see, oh, that ship's in range 1. All right, and I usually leave it on while I'm attacking so you can see it. So I'm going to say W1 to W3, and I'm going to say how many dice. Well, I got 2 primary dice, and I'm in range 1, so that's 3 primary dice. He's only got 1 agility, so 3v1. That's what we're going to say. And he's going to say, you know, he might say yes, next, whatever. So how do you roll dice? Well, you spawn this little dice thing up here. See this dice? Look at that. How easy is that? No rolling dice flung off the floor or what have you. We're like, well, okay, well, where's the roll button? The roll button is actually a right click. I'm going to roll. I right click over this dice pile, right? And I got shortcuts here. So as long as I'm in the dice menu, I can roll 3 dice or hit Control 3. Well, in this case, I'm just going to hit Control 3. Now, it says 2 hits and blank, right? That was randomized. If I had, let's say, I'm going to change this to a focus, and this one to a focus. See how you can change it if you needed to? Like if you were palping or something like that. I can spend, if I had a focus token, I can hit spend the focus token, and automatically changes it. But look what it does in the log file. See how it keeps track of everything? It shows everything. Hit, blank. Now, your opponent can see this. When you're rolling, he sees what you're rolling. And I'm also going to see what he's defending. So if he's only rolling 1 die, I'm going to see, oh, he rolls 1 evade. So then what he'll usually respond to is he'll say what the damage was. So in this case, he's got all his shields. He's just going to say, well, in this case, well, it's 2 hits versus 1 evade, so that's going to be 1 shield. He's just going to say 1S, 1 shield. And, you know, I might respond, okay. And then he'll go to his ship. Remember I told you about marking your ship? Remember Control-Alt-S removes the shields? Look at that. I just went from a 4 to a 3. Boom. And then you're done. Now you're going to the next round. I'm sorry, not the next round, but let's say the next ship is shooting. Let's say he's going to shoot back at me, so I hide my firing arc, Control F. Let's say I'm going to be him. So he's going to check to see if I'm in his firing arc. Oh, I just am in range 1 as well. So he's going to use the primary weapon. Now, because he's got a turret, I know how to turret too, but if he has a turret, you wouldn't use normal firing arc. You would use the target lock one, which basically tells you the 360 degrees. So yeah, he's going to say, and he's going to say the same thing. He's going to say W3 to W1. You know, he could say, you know, W3 to Fen Rao. Whatever your ship indicators are, he's just calling out what he's declaring his target, right? And then he's going to declare the target. He's going to say 3v1 because he's shooting 3 dice. It's at range 1 versus 1 defensive dice, and he's going to say maybe primary. All right. Or he might say the same thing, but he might say twin laser turret. So TLT, W3 to W1, 3v1 because it's 3v1, and I already wrote TLT on there, but you can say TLT again, and you can say versus volley. All right, and then you go to your dice, and you roll 3 dice. Okay. Oh, crit hit. I got his focus token. I'm going to spend the focus token. And he can't block that no matter what. Or I'm going to add a die. You know how you have the fin ray combinations? Well, guess what? You can add a die right here. I'm going to add 2 blanks. Oh, and I'm going to re-roll this attack result. Oh, sorry. Where is it? Control V. All right. I hit Control V, re-roll the attack result. That's when I rolled the blank. All right. But it allows me to re-roll my blanks just like I'm doing the fin thing. If you're doing a target lock, all right, you just re-roll each individual die that you want to roll. Okay? And if you want to evade or whatever the case may be, it's the same thing with the defensive dice. You roll how many defensive dice, and you can set what you want. You want to add an evade. You want to add a focus, like any special abilities, or add a blank, like fin, the fin ray combination, and then re-roll that with her ability. As long as you're declaring it, you can say fin add blank. All right, and then you could say ray re-roll blanks. Right, and that's all you got to do. I mean, just as long as you're just declaring what you're doing on here. That's why I really recommend Skype. But that's how you play the game pretty much. And then when you're done, all right, you remove your tokens. Let's say you had a focus token here. You remove your tokens. If you did use the tokens or action markers on the ship themselves, which is the actions here. Remember Shift A, you had to focus. If you hit reset actions, see how it removes it? So if you hit reset actions, it removes all the actions all on the ship immediately instead of dragging the focus tokens on and off the board. I like using these tokens. It's up to you. It's really preference. I like using the big target locks. I can see them better. It really depends on what you want to do. All right, so we talked about installing it. We talked about getting the module set up. We talked about importing lists, which is cake now compared to what it was originally. We showed you how to set up the list, set up the match, and what have you. We showed you how to go through maneuvering, how you set up your templates and what have you. And we showed you how to roll dice and what have you. Relating to adding blank results and all the modifying dice. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean that is pretty much it. As long as you're talking on the chat board here, as long as you're clear and concise on what you're trying to do, it's easy. It's cake. That's all you got to do. Now, if you are a new player, just let your opponent know. Say, hey, I've only played Vassal once or twice before. I'm still learning my ropes around here. But once you play this a couple times, you'll get it. It's very straightforward and easy. Now, what happens if you need to see if a ship is, is this ship going? Let me zoom in here. Is this ship going to attack this ship? Is it through debris or not? Well, you can just click the Imperial, right? And when you click it, you go from the closest point to the closest point, and see how it adds a line. Right, and it also tells you what the range is. How cool is that? And also shows you the closest point that, okay, you know what, that's not through debris. That's, that works. So these things, and it says Imperial Rebel Pixels, it just gives you different colors pretty much. And then you click off of it and it automatically goes away. The other thing, if you need to undo stuff, again, use that undo button. That's definitely key. X-Wing reference cards, all right, if you click that button up there, it shows you only these reference cards. And what things do. So everything's there as far as the reference cards if you need them. Also, the how-to and the shortcuts. This pops up here if you want to know the movement shortcuts. This is something you want to print out. This is essential for playing here. I usually keep this to the side of me because sometimes look how many shortcuts there are. It's ridiculous, crazy, right? But you can see the firing arc, the target lock, the auxiliary firing arc, or if you want to U-turn your ship, just like, how the U-Wing has that ability where you can U-turn, guess what? It's Control U. It's very simple. Decloak forward all the way, decloak back all the way, shows you all the different things. The barrel roll, how you want to nudge your ship, right? Or ship rotation altogether. You have the new You have the new maneuvers for the quad jumper, how you can back up either one back or one back and boost. It's almost like one bank boost backwards. It has that as well. Look at that. It's even got the Segnor's loop in here. It's even got the Talon roll. It's got the K-turn. All these maneuvers here in one quick, easy thing. It also shows you dice shortcuts. It's a little small here, but the dice shortcuts are there. Collision guides, dial shortcuts, tells you what you want to do for your dial, how to select the maneuver by using the period or the comma on your keyboard, or how to hide and reveal, Control R. How do you rotate your dial if you want to turn your dial upside down for whatever reason because you want to see how the ship would maneuver depending on what you dial, you can do that. Token shortcuts. So if you want to add tokens the old-fashioned way, you can actually just click on the tokens and it'll add the tokens that way. So there's a whole bunch of different ways you can do tokens. The bomb drop guide, here's how you do the bomb drop. Step 1, click on the bomb spawner. Hit Control B for the little bomb spawner. And then step 2 tells you which template you want to do. Again, you can do all the different templates, which is pretty cool. And you can also do the alternative steps like Zuvio, where it can drop some in front. Or Death Rain, so you can hit Control-Shift-B, so it'll drop the bomb in front instead of the back. And then you also have all your bombs. You can have even shortcuts for your bombs there. You can hit Control-M, Control-S, and so on for the different types of bombs. I mean, how cool is that? It's got everything here. Once you figure that out, I mean, it's even got weird shipping pilots. It shows you different maneuvers for different ships, right? Here's which ships to. Here's for the arc. So if you guys are playing the Paratani or Saj or Ventress in the big Shadowcaster, guess what? This is how you see that little that highlighted line. That's your mobile firing arc. So if you hide this firing arc displaying here, this line will still show up. So it lets your opponent and yourself know which way the arc is facing. And you can rotate your mobile turret whichever direction by using Alt-M or counterclockwise Control Alt-M. Everything's here. It's great. Smaller large base ship statuses. This is how. Here's a quick thing on how you change your craft status. Target lock, increasing the stats, the hull and attack value and pilot skill and what have you, all these numbers. How do you even want to do other actions? Everything's here, isn't that pretty cool? And it's even got the huge stuff. It's got everything here in the shortcuts. So if you ever need to learn how to do stuff, everything's here. How to auto spawn a squad from the web. Here's the rules that we just talked about. So if you get another squad builder, the unofficial squadron builder, Fabs or Void State, all these three different squad builders you can import right into Vassal without you have to actually build your list. Everything's here and shows you how to do it. So everything, like I said, I would just use this and everything's good to go. So one of the things I did not show you is actually how to connect online. So when you first do it, it's going to ask you to create a password and username and who you are and what have you. But let's get rid of this. I'm going to get rid of all of this here. Let's hide this. Hide this, hide this, hide this. I'm going to hide all of this, right? And I'm going to close. Let's quit this. I'm going to clean this. No, I'm not going to. See, I can also save my game too, so I ever want to go back to it. Like I said, there's a lot of features here in Vassal. It's super powerful. All right, so I'm going to drag this over to the side here so I have a clear blank slate. But I'm going to go to my Vassal, my Vassal engine. All right. I'm going to double click my Star Wars X-Wing. Now I'm going to go online. I'm going to so everything I just did, you do online. It's the same exact. The only difference is trying to start the match. So you look for a game online. I hit finish. This server comes up. Again, when you're first doing it the first time, it's going to ask you which server you want to connect to. And you just use the regular one, the main server. That's where everybody goes. But this screen is how you get a match. Look at all the people that's already having matches here. So these are all people having matches. And I can go in here and view the match unless it's a locked room. So look, this is a locked room. That means it's not showing you the match. So they might be working on some top secret lists or something. Who knows? But this is the main room. The main room is where everybody hangs out here. If you want, to get ready for a match, or you're waiting for somebody to play a match against, that's where everybody hangs out. Is usually the main room. So some of the things here and the buttons here is you have your disconnect and connect, right, which is these two buttons. You also have looking for a game, away from keyboard. So I can say, now see how the little icon says I'm away keyboard, and this comes up. When I come back, I hit OK, it goes away. All right. If I hit this icon, it says that I'm waiting for a match. And if I hit the icon, it goes away. This is messages, right? So if I want to send a message composer, I can send messages to the room. Really, people don't use that much. It's up to you. If I want to send a message to somebody, like if I want to send a message to this guy, Dan, on here, I right-click. I can see his profile, which is usually not people that fill out my profiles, or I can private message. I can hit up the private message and actually talk to Dan and say, hey, you want to play a game? Right? And he says, yeah, let's play a game. So let's say if we did want to play a game together, it's actually really easy to create a room. Okay, there's a couple things that you got to do. So you got to first create the room. So I'm going to say new game. I'm just going to say Berto versus the world, right? Or I can put whatever my opponent is. I hit enter. Look at that. It enters me, automatically adds me to the room and creates the room for me, right? Now, I can lock the room, right? Or try to join the rooms or what have you. But if I lock the room, nobody can get in. So if you want waiting for your person to come in, and once they do come in, then you want to lock the room. Don't lock the room before that. There's like no password or secret handshake that you got to, to get the pass to a locked room. You have to actually be in there first, then you lock it. But once I'm locked in there, this is a lot of what people make mistakes on. They're like, okay, the guy's in here. Okay, let's start up the game. They're like, okay, I'm going to hit player 1. Oh, wait, why is my map not showing? Well, because somebody didn't start the game. So once you're in the room, you got to start the game. So file, new game. Who do you want to join as? Player 1. Next, select the board. I'm going to do 3x3 of Starfield Light. Now the board, see how everything comes up here? The map is now done, so I can pull my map up. I can add my pieces. I can spawn my list, the whole 9 yards. Now, if you're both in here at the same time and you didn't start the new game, the person may have to resync. All right, and basically they just click here. There's a resync button. I believe one of their choices, and they can resync up, or just resync the map so they can get the map coming up, and it'll prompt them which player they are. My cat's. I'm looking at my cat here. My cat's meowing at me here. The other thing to do is once you're in, right, you just select as what player you are. If you set the new game up and you select player 1 right away, and then he comes in, it's going to be prompting him what player he wants to be, so he'll choose 2. But I'm already player 1. That means I can put stuff on this board and spawn the damage deck. Unless I'm going to spawn the 2 damage deck. I can go in here, spawn a squad from get another squad builder. I'm going to share that permalink. Give it a second. Look, everything's ready to go. I take all my cards. Let me pour my... move these tokens out of the way for a sec, because it's going to grab my tokens by accident if I don't do that. Oop. Hit the button too fast. Come here, grab my cards. All right, I just basically click and drag the cards over here. All right, get my ships ready, get my dials ready. Line my ships up. All right, I usually take my stuff off the board so I can let him do it. So then he's going to go in and spawn. And he's going to spawn his squad and get his ships. I'm going to get my rocks and debris ready. And then you start the match. You say, and you go, all right, and he's going to look at your list. The way he can look at your list is by hitting player number 1, if he's player 2. And he's going to see your list. And you tell him, okay, I'm at 100 points, 100 points. And if he says, like, okay, I'm at 100 points too, let's flip for it. And you can say, hit or miss, right? Or he might say H or M. Right, you can say hit, right, and if use the dice, he's gonna roll 1 die. Oh, it's a blank. That means he chooses. Okay, you'll get initiative. You'll get it, and I mean it's all just you're doing the same exact thing that you normally do. You're just doing it on the chat room here, or the chat area. Now, do know this: if your room is not locked, you may get some visitors saying knock, 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 and they come into your room. Now, you won't know that they come into your room unless you're seeing in the chat room. They might ask questions or what have you. But again, you can kick out people out of your room and what have you. So that's the cool part. If I want to go back to that server, right, I just click this button. That's the connecting server button. It pulls up that screen. Again, everything you can do from this control panel right here. Everything spawns up from this control panel. So let's say if I'm going to go back to the main room. I'm going to say no, save the game. So now my game's not set. See, look, I can do a load of new game if I wanted to. Looks like Moss 2000 wants a game. I can go in there and join a game with him and say, I can, reach out to him and say, hey, man, let's play a game. Or I can go check out another game. You know what? Let's check out my buddy, Mr. Reinhardt. So he's got a couple people watching, looks like it. Now, as soon as I click in there, it's going to see how it prompts me. Now, player 1, player 2, player... I can only do... I want to do observer. I just want to see his map. Okay? It says synchronization complete. Now, so what do I do here? Let me erase my text board here. Well, I can go see his map. Well, looks like they're setting up their match here. They're getting ready to play. So they're setting up a match. They're going to be talking on here. Now, the stuff from the previous game, see how it still stays there? That's okay. It'll go away eventually when it starts scrolling up, when they start adding more stuff. But look, he's adding his rocks, adding his debris. And we're actually watching a match. We're watching a match that's live. So this is also a cool way. See how Reinhardt says Epson leader is the remove stress guy? And AJ Math goes, yep. Everybody gets communicated right through the chat room. I mean, that's how simple it is. It's very, very simple. The biggest thing that you might have to worry about is just tell them you're new and you might be a little bit slower. This does take a little bit slower than the normal match, so don't get hung up on an hour and 15 minutes. I think they usually go by rounds here, and that's what they track on how many rounds that you're doing. This is what the round marker, so this zeros here is showing what the round marker is. And basically, you're just moving the rounds. Now I can't do it because I'm an observer, but you can track the rounds through this. And usually I think people play to 19 rounds. I think is the actual on Vassals, usually the average. And look, see, I'm at 99. Same, hit or miss. See, hit. So he rolls a focus. All right, Reinhardt gave him the initiative. And this is how easy it is. So he's gonna take the initiative. They're gonna start setting up rocks. It's very simple. Right, and they just go back and forth. Well, I'm not gonna watch them the whole match, but they set up just like how I showed you to set up. They go back and forth. All right, so they were set up their rocks, but I'm gonna go back to the main room here. I'm gonna hit save game. I can also save their game. I can watch their game and save it, and it saves all the steps and where their game was. I'm sorry, not all the steps, but it saves the game where it's at. You can also create a log file, which we'll get into other stuff. But once you have a map, you can actually begin a log file when you start a new game, and it will actually step by step show you what every maneuver was, every chat was, everything was, so you can actually save it. Some leagues, if you do have a Vassal league, will ask you for the log file just as a record, just to make sure to keep everybody honest. If there's any questions or debate about anything, I would always just log files. It's nothing. It basically just saves everything to a file, everything, like all these attack rolls, what spawned, what was the chat room, and everything can be spawned from that. And you load the log file, and everybody can see exactly where you were or left off. So anyway, so that's what we did. I mean, we showed everything on how to set up. This is a long video. It's an hour and a half. It's an hour and just a little over an hour long. But I wanted to make sure that you guys can see everything on how to set up a Vassal tutorial. I hope this helps you guys. But we showed everything from setting up Vassal, loading the module, loading up a list. Now, the old way, I didn't show you everything with the old way, but you can figure it out. I mean, you showed me how I drag ships on and what have you. I showed you how to maneuver ships. The easiest thing to do is before you go online looking for a match, load up one of your lists and maneuver ships around the board. Put some rocks down and see if it works just as well as in the real life, because again, it's a little bit different because it's two-dimensional, no longer three-dimensional. But using the ship base, you can figure out where your ships are going to end if you're a good flyer and what have you. But also use it as a maneuvering thing. I also do like my own tutorials. I keep myself, okay, this is how I want to do an opening move, how far apart I am. If you're going to use the range rulers or different template guides for when you're setting up as a learning lesson, you can save that in here, so you can save it for future notes or what have you. It's pretty cool stuff. Look, cool. See, I got a guy ask me for a game. I'm just gonna say, yeah, I'm just gonna let him know. Not right now, but thanks. As long as you're polite, like I said, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. See, he was asking for a game. He saw me available, and he's gonna hit me up. And that's how fast it is. I mean, people will, when they come online, they're going to ask you for games and stuff. But anyway, that's Vassal. Let me switch the camera here. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, we showed you a lot of different things, a lot of different tools on how to get set up. What my biggest thing is when I first did Vassal, I was like, I was a little afraid of, like, I didn't want to piss people off, moving ships. It's kind of like the new thing when you're first playing X-Wing, like, I don't want to play I see these experienced players playing over here and they know what they're doing. I don't want to interrupt them. No, the cool part is just like the real community, people want to play against you, even if you're a new player or not, because the more people that know how to play Vassal, the better, because that means the more it grows and the more fun you can have, and more you can just jump on in the middle of the night, play somebody from another country around the world, because it's not really resource intensive. You're just communicating back and forth and watching two-dimensional ships move around the board, but it really gives you a sense of, and more practice and sense of different openings and styles and different things around the world that you might see at tournaments. So I love Vassal for that very reason. I also love Vassal because it's also my own tutorial. I teach myself opening moves. I teach myself placements, and I teach myself rock and debris placements. I teach myself ship placements, how I want to line up my ships. I also teach myself, like, okay, if I put the rock here in a 2-and-2 corner, but back it away one range ruler, that allows my ships to do X, Y, and Z when I boost around. When I do a 4 turn and do a 1 boost, it positions my ships perfectly. It just allows you to think that like that. I mean, that's what's cool about it. So this was a long video, but I really wanted to kind of show you the detail of Vassal, and so you guys can get more comfortable with it. And don't worry, if you go off the line mode and you do the offline mode and not the online mode, you're not going to blow nothing up. And the cool part about it is because you're an observer, if you do watch another match, because you're an observer, you're not going to move their ships. You're not going to break anything. So don't get hung up on that. But definitely, do a lot of stuff offline first before you go online. Figure out how to load up a list. Figure out how to maneuver your ships around and how that all works. Print out your shortcuts, and you're good to go. I mean, that's it. All right, so I'm going to wrap this up. If you guys have questions about Vassal, or if you want something more in depth, let me know. Again, this is just a basic intro. I tried to cover everything in here. I'll definitely put the time slots of all the different areas I cover. I'll try to at least do that because there's a lot of things we covered. But if you guys have any questions, definitely leave in the comments below. All right, so I'm going to wrap this up. I really appreciate it. If you guys like this video, give it a like. Also, subscribe to the channel down below. I can do more of these videos. Like I said, it's very straightforward. The biggest thing is just getting all the shortcuts down. Once you get past that, you'll be good to go. The other thing is, like I said, if you guys like what we do and you want to help support us, check out the links below to our token store, to our t-shirt store, the store link below. And also, if you want to be part of Team SPG, we're actually going to be doing some, I think, some Vassal leagues just within Team SPG. I think that's going to be starting up soon. But we wanted to get some playing and just having some fun, and we're going to probably do some different wacky lists and just have fun playing some Vassal. And the cool part is I get to play people all around the world. How cool is that? And language, the cool part about X-Wing, language is no barrier. I mean, you can use, if they use the English version or Dutch version, it automatically translates for them, not your words, it translates the cards for them so they know what you're using in the damage deck. But you can do, and like I said, it's awesome. It's cake. It's really easy, really simple and easy to use. Also, like I said, check out our Facebook SlingPaint, our slingpaint.com website and what have you. Again, all the links below. All right, I'm going to wrap this up. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks, guys. All right, bye.